This is the MNPS Volunteer Interpreter Training video for Parent-Teacher Conference Day. First of all, we would like to thank you very much for all your help. This is an extremely busy day and your assistance will be immensely important to its success. So what is interpretation? Interpretation takes place when two or more parties who speak different languages need to communicate. We, as interpreters, act as a bridge of communication between these two parties. The mode of interpretation that we will be using is the consecutive mode. This takes place when the speaker says 2 to 3 sentences, pauses, allows for interpretation, and then continues to speak. We will do this in the first person, so instead of saying, "She wants to know how her child is doing," we would say, "I want to know how my child is doing." We do this to avoid any confusion with the overuse of pronouns. We will interpret the entire message into the target language, which is the language being interpreted to. We will also politely stop the speaker if they are speaking too fast or not pausing to allow for interpretation. If you experience this, you can raise your hand as an indication to the speaker to pause and allow you to interpret. Some of the responsibilities that we have as interpreters is to listen attentively. This is very important to interpret accurately and completely. We need to interpret the original message, material, or interaction, so not only what is said, but how it is said. We also need to interpret everything, however uncomfortable it may be. We are not there to decide what does and does not get interpreted. If we are unsure about the meaning of a word or the context in which it is used, we should request clarification or an example. We do not provide independent advice, information, guidance, or consultation. Our role is to interpret. We must remain impartial throughout the meeting, show respect for all parties, and use positioning for an optimal experience. For example, some interpreters prefer to sit beside the parent, or beside and slightly behind the parent, to emphasize that the meeting taking place is between the parents and the teacher. However, other interpreters prefer to sit in between the parent and the teacher, forming a triangle. So the interpreter will decide what works best for him or her and their community. We must respect and maintain confidentiality. Anything said during the meeting should not be discussed outside the meeting. This is to respect the privacy of all parties. Before the meeting, we will sign the confidentiality agreement, introduce ourselves to the parents and staff, and inform them that we are the volunteer interpreter for our language. We will assure them that everything that is said during the meeting will remain confidential. We will inform them how we will be interpreting, which will be consecutively, and that we will be speaking in the first person. We will let them know that we will be interpreting everything, so if they don't want something interpreted, it's best not to say it during the meeting. We will also let them know that they should feel free to ask any questions about anything that has been interpreted, such as terminology, for example. If they do have any questions, we, as interpreters, must relay the questions to the teachers or staff. During the meeting, we will allow 2 to 3 sentences to be spoken. And keep in mind that these 2 to 3 sentences are more of a general guideline. If the interpreter feels more comfortable interpreting 1 sentence at a time, or 5 sentences at a time, that is perfectly fine, as long as what we interpret is correct, accurate, and complete. We will ask for clarification if it is necessary. We will not add, omit, or modify anything that is said. We will not provide guidance or advice, however well-intentioned it may be, and we will always remain impartial. Towards the end of the meeting, we will ask the parents one final time if they have any questions. There are occasions where parents are very hesitant to ask questions, so we want to encourage them to ask these questions so they leave the meeting without any doubts. After the meeting, we want to encourage the parents to stay in contact with the teacher in the future. Some parents have the misconception that the only interaction between them as parents and the teacher is on Parent-Teacher Conference Day. So we want to reassure them that they can always contact the teacher to schedule a meeting or write them a note, but to stay in contact and up to date. And once again, we want to thank you for all your help. I hope this video has cleared up any doubts and provided some guidance as you work as an MNPS volunteer interpreter for Parent-Teacher Conference Day.